And we are back on the Ribbon Cut podcast.
Good morning.
How are you, Charles?
I am wonderful. I'm excited about today.
We've
got a wonderful guest.
Yes, Brett Lauritsen of Olsson from Overland Park, Kansas.
Mm-hmm. I've been there.
Engineering hotspot there in the Midwest.
Yep. I'm excited.
So welcome, Brett. Welcome to the Ribbon Cut.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me on. This is, coming to you from the flyover state here in Kansas, and appreciate being on. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's such a pleasure to have you this morning. You came highly recommended. When we were chatting, I was talking about the Real Professionals Network that many people in commercial real estate are familiar with, and also the Utility Economic Development Association that both of our firms are active in. And so we're so glad you agreed to join us on the podcast this morning. And we've got this broad audience out there across dozens of countries, economic developers, site selectors, and corporate end users. So if you wouldn't mind, could you introduce yourself to them and tell us a little bit about Olsson?
Yeah, and big fan of you guys. Had listened to the podcast. It's super insightful. There's always a lot of value I can take out of that.
Thank you.
As a civil engineer by background, there's a lot of things that we come across in our work, and nearly every one of the folks that you've had on touch a lot of those points, and super insightful. So appreciate being on. Again, Brett Lauritsen, pleasure to be on. I sit here in a suburb of Kansas City. I've been with Olsson now this is year 20. So it's been a fun ride with all kinds of experiences. And we, our firm is headquartered in Nebraska. We're out of Lincoln.
Okay.
We're an employee-owned company. We've been around since 1956, and we're up to about 2,300 employees now. I kind of lose track as we've gone through the years here, but it's we do everything under the sun, but except the architecture and the construction components. We'll do everything from the survey out of the gate to inspecting concrete and your rebar at the back end.
Yep.
Would you consider yourselves engineering with a big E, right? When people are talking about, how many engineering services would you say you have?
As far as all kinds of engineering services, every facet of engineering that you can think of. Yep.
So site, civil, structural. Do you do mechanical and electrical?
Mechanical, electrical, big in data centers, rail engineering, sustainability, you name it, we do it.
And how big is your office footprint, Brett?
With the 2,300 employees, they're all over the country.
Yep.
We have 33 physical offices, and we're physically located from St. Louis up to Nebraska, down to DFW, over to Denver, down to Phoenix, and then out to beautiful Southern California and Irvine.
Wonderful. Okay, cool.
So we kind of touch a lot of area there, but work all over.
Well, on the services side, one of the things that we were chatting about is just the amount of services that are required, or I guess different skill sets, different levels of expertise that are required to take this raw piece of land and transform it into a finished manufacturing or industrial facility. I think for someone who's not done development before or has maybe done it once every 10 years, it's easy to just kind of lump it into this big bucket of we're just going to develop the site.
Yeah.
But actually, it's requiring dozens to hundreds of people to get involved across that process flow. So where would you say Olsson typically enters in to the site selection process? And who are you serving and what types of services are you typically offering?
As I think about the site selection process and where kind of Olsson has a niche, or where we normally enter, it's typically we will work for either state, city or county EDCs, and most often they're calling us saying, "Hey, we've been working with either a site selector or a end user corporation. we've made a top 10 list or a top 5. And we need your help with or couple pieces of property that we have that we want to show as our potential to rope these folks in and to win this deal. And so our services that we'll provide folks they range from general consulting on, hey, what's the feasibility of this land, and all the way through, what do costs look like, and how do we kind of mitigate those, or what are our creative options to put our best foot forward. And we've even found ourselves sometimes standing next to them when we're talking to these folks with, really selling the community, the workforce availability, all aspects of this, because it's much more than just the property.
Right.
Yep.
And I think the expertise, like you were kind of hitting at, is where those meet. That's where you can really make connections. And we're huge parts. We love being a big part of the community. And so doing that ties to our site work, pretty well, we found.
Well, that's a huge positive, obviously, for the communities that you work with or that you stand next to in these deals. Because obviously, if you're an economic developer, you don't have all the answers on a piece of property. It may check the boxes for you at a high level, but you need someone as a partner to stand in there and be able to get into the details and really stand behind the X's and O's of that property. So to me, that seems like you guys are a really good partner for a lot of those economic developers that are trying to close a deal.
Yeah, I think of a lot of examples that we've recently been part of, and one comes to mind is over the last, I'd say, about a year, the state of Oklahoma, in the greater Oklahoma City area specifically, as well as Tulsa, but has been targeting a significant end user, and I got to be careful about names and everything, but working with them to develop a strategy on how to best present a piece of property in the state of Oklahoma that shows well, connects to that end user who's making that decision, as well as gives a good sense of reality in terms of infrastructure, power, time, access to interstates, those kind of rubber meets the road kind of stuff. So start to finish on that has been kind of fun, and they haven't been selected, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, that's such a great compliment. I mean, if you're being selected as a partner to go to battle, to compete and differentiate a location, that's definitely really high compliment to the firm. Can you give us a couple of other examples of experiences like that, maybe in other states or maybe industry sectors that you specialize in?
Yeah, right now I kind of see there's 3 sectors that are kind of super interesting and kind of fit our niche expertise too. Technology and data centers for sure, rail, and then traditional kind of manufacturing, distribution, e-commerce, warehousing development too. So those kind of that 3-headed animal there. I think one that comes to mind immediately is in the rail industry. We work with all Class 1 railroads. And what's interesting is we're seeing a lot of them really realize, hey, we have land, and that's an asset that we can turn into it can contribute more to their core competency of, we want rail volume and we want more customers.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's
More
turn this.
cars.
Exactly. Yep. How do we service these folks and bring new customers to this area? It's kind of a win-win-win for everyone. And rail companies have actually reached out to us. We work with all of them, great relationships. And they've said, hey, here's what we have. Tell us kind of where we're best positioned in terms of rail design, because we do that. So we have that niche experience of, we know enough details that we can help them avoid certain situations that their systems won't even work.
Right.
And then we can pair it with reality of schedules on, here's what it takes to do something on this ground, with whether it be the feds, whether it be FEMA, understanding what the opportunities are. You got to look at what the worst case is, look at the best case, and then get creative. to see what would work for them, and then pair them with other clients that we work with. That's where it gets fun too.
So one of the things I've noticed from working with Class 1 railroads is they have, and I'm sure there's more divisions than just this, but I've noticed they have the strategy team that's often working as a real estate development team as well. They've got their sales and marketing team who's working on business attraction, kind of working in a site selection role sometimes.
Yep.
Because the inbound leads are coming in and trying to match them to a specific location in the service territory. And then you've got your rail operations and engineering that are getting really then involved of, okay, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
How are you affecting me?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do to me? So would you say you're interacting then with all three, and I'm sure more, but I'm hearing that you're joining them in that real estate development thought process?
Yeah, take Union Pacific, for example. I know they're a good customer and listener here on the podcast too. Working with them, they have a kind of a corporate development strategy team. And a lot of times we'll see they will kind of do most of the discussions with the operations folks, because operations are king of a
Absolutely.
railroad.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Absolutely.
But us having a separate relationship with them too, working for them on that side of the house, we kind of understand that too. So we can set them up to have beneficial conversations in-house and really be effective, because there's a lot of moving parts in a railroad. And so helping the real estate the frontline guys kind of maybe jump some hurdles that they don't know they might even have.
Right.
It's fun to do.
Do you sometimes find land that's not mapped? Right? We, in the site selection, many site selectors call that site identification, new site identification. Do you sometimes come across parcels that you think, hey, this can be assembled, and find a new asset?
Yeah, it's funny how that works. We stay just short of brokerage.
Okay.
Yeah, brokers are our friend too, and we'll work for brokers. But yeah, we will. And there's always a story with every project. And so you never know it might be someone's brother-in-law that has 1,000 acres who it's been in a family farm and they're done.
Yeah.
And they just happen to sit next to a rail where things make sense, or a perfect site for a data center.
Yep.
We had a case, this is probably 3 or 4 months ago in Manhattan, Kansas, where we just happened to know someone who owned some land that was of interest to the EDC, it turns out. And we kind of paired some folks up, and and now that's a marketable site, which is good for a lot of folks.
Oh, that's
Yep.
Yeah, site product. I mean, that's what everybody's
Yes.
looking for, is new site product to bring to market.
Yeah, there's properties that are listed, and then there's kind of the local knowledge of, well, I know how this area of town is working and who owns what, and that local knowledge
Might
base.
be
that usually-
interested. Yeah, who's done farming?
Yeah.
Who's got ag land that's not as productive because it's all, wetlandish over there, or that type of thing. I'm from a small town in Indiana, and I was just in northern Indiana for a week for vacation. So, talking a lot about ag land here recently.
Brett.
Yeah, likewise. Grew up in a small town.
I'm going to dovetail a little bit or change the direction. You talked about data centers, obviously huge boom on data centers. We all see it. Obviously, when it comes to building a data center, there is a ton of engineering services that must play a part into making that data center a reality. Obviously, power being probably the number one. How do you guys play in that ecosystem? What do you guys do for data centers and or power companies to help make that ecosystem go round?
Here's the great thing where we kind of sit and where we play is when we provide all engineering services, we work for the power company, and we do a ton of work for all the data center, whether it be hyperscalers or colo.
Yep.
We touch just about every one of them. And so knowing what they want is important. But I think the most important thing where a lot of the value is working with these power companies, knowing their limitations, and how to simplify that conversation with folks that are looking for that land and knowing what a real ramp up period is, or outlay of when you can get certain megawatts is how it kind of always works.
Yep.
And so what's fun is where we provide a lot of value is we'll know, hey, this power company is thinking about a transmission project, and here's a likely route. Well, we're seeing them be interested in, hey, we know people are actually looking for this power and sites, so that's not the world they play in. So they'll ask us, hey, who do you know that we could talk to about, our project here and set up new customers to pull off different locations on a T line that would work in their system and be a great spot for a data center or industrial development. So you kind of bring industrial and power and data center all together, and it's fun cooking. It's fun.
Well, and the pipeline must be full right now. Obviously, I mean it's got to be a big part of your growth as a company.
I think it was yesterday morning. I got an email from an outfit that said, "Oh I'm introducing them to a developer," and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we've gotten so many of these notes. Who are these people? Do they know what they're doing?"
Yeah.
And so some of it's an education of, yes, these folks that are looking, they're wanting to talk to you. They're pros. They do know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They have success.
They have a track record.
And great folks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I would imagine right now in that world, anybody that sees an opportunity will try to go in that direction, and there's going to be some that have no idea what they're doing, and some that really know what they're doing that are well funded and well backed, and trying to eliminate those on that one side. You've got to do it, or you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, and we'll see that site selectors will come in and get that first level of respect. They do a great job of commanding that, and there's an instant respect for, okay, they do know what they're talking about. So that we've seen that be good for a couple folks too, not just developers, but the site selectors and end users who can speak that technical game at a simple level that shows that sophistication.
Yep.
When you're, educate a little bit, because being able to see the future like that is so valuable in terms of translating the time and the phases involved from getting these megawatts, right? So if it says on a piece of paper, we need 100 megawatts, everyone in the industry knows you don't need 100 megawatts.
Day one.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that you've probably done these types of presentations and conversations with the end user of, well, here's how it's phased, and here's how we need to talk to the utility about it so that your ramp up and their ramp up aligns.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an accurate? Did you spend a lot of time doing that type of client education?
We do, and we have full teams that work that are much more technically savvy on the technical details of the power component.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I would recommend actually is, on speaking about ramp up and what's possible, what the feasibility is, for folks to be very clear on the ask. Because a lot of times power companies, and I've heard this directly over the last month, is, well, folks come in and ask for that 100 day one, and then they're like, well, okay, we'll take 20, and it's just so shotgun that it defeats kind of the credibility.
Yep.
And so that would be the recommendation, is that clear ask and know that sophistication on the back end, but keep it simple.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does. Let's talk a little bit about events. We know that we're all out here doing business development, right? And looking at trying to predict the future, looking at the current industries, the current growth trends, and choosing where to be. So everyone in our audience is, we're in summer 2025. People are looking at their 2026 budgets, and you're looking at, well, what events do I want to go to again? And what events would I like to add for 2026? Do you have, with 33 offices and 2,300 people, I know you're probably heading a lot of places, but do you have any kind of top of mind that people can find Olsson at?
Yeah, so with the 2,300 folks, we touch a lot of organizations, a lot similar to folks here on listening in. But the NAOP, the SIOR are a couple key ones, and the icons are great. The number of, I mean, there's a lot of folks there, obviously, so that takes some strategic planning to get the conversations that you need to. But you'll see Olsson probably more heavily involved at the Eco Devo level, whether it's state or local.
Okay.
Just for sheer size and kind of how our project flow works. The SEDC is I think this weekend in OKC. We're highly visible there.
Yeah, we're heading out there too.
And
Yeah.
okay. And then a couple of the national associations, manufacturing, industrial asset management,
Yep.
naturally is something we're in, and a lot with utility providers as well.
Are you active in the railroad development group? I think that event just happened a couple of weeks ago in St. Louis.
Yep.
We do have folks that are active in that, and it's typically our rail folks that attend those. But yeah, that's I think of Union Pacific initially out of the gate here. We find ourselves active mostly with their industrial development and economic development folks directly,
Yeah.
versus railroad industry events.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. As you talked about earlier, kind of standing hand in hand with them, helping them with site development, right? And so that makes sense to me.
Something that Charles and I talk a lot about, and it comes up on calls with clients, is how they can reduce risk, right? So on the economic development side, they've got a lot of risk. I think they have a lot more risk than people give them credit for, because in the sales process, they have to sell to win, but they can't overpromise, because if you land a manufacturer somewhere and then you actually can't support that over the long haul, then you kind of develop that brand, right? And then that's terrible for the community. So nobody's interested in overselling. And then on the site selector side, they're under tremendous pressure from corporate clients who are asking for sharks with laser beams and unicorns, right? So a site selector is needing to de-risk and educate on what types of product is available and what the process flow really is. So I'm curious where Olsson fits into that, right? Everyone, when they're thinking about project management, they're thinking about risk management. So do you have any tips or tricks or tactics top of mind on how you all de-risk the process for your clients?
Yeah, and there's no time like yesterday. That's exactly right. I mean, the timelines are, and that's what people about this industry, right?
It's always going faster.
Yeah, one thing I think about is, and we had this with a couple folks that were looking. It happened to be in Kansas City, actually. Knowing how to oversimplify and like you touched on, not over complicate something or provide a schedule for something like a wetlands permitting or a Corps of Engineers permit, which scare people. Knowing how to effectively communicate, okay, here are the options to mitigate that or take it off the table. Here's what you could do to take it off the table. And to not assume that everyone fully understands what that process looks like. I think sometimes as folks talk about, oh my gosh, we have a creek in the middle of this project. Oh my God, that's going to be 5 years. And you kind of take it as gospel. A recommendation I would have is to, look at that from a perspective of, how can you change your project to accommodate it a little better? There might be a little give and take, but there has to be that flexibility in at least considering different options. Now, a lot of folks will come in and here's our list of things we got to have, the must-haves, the needs. And without sacrificing those, there's always creativity. I mean, what a favorite saying is, you're only limited by your creativity. So
that
how
is
creative
so
can we get as a
interesting
team?
that you're saying this, because you're bringing back to mind when I used to work for HDR Engineering, that often that's when sustainability got pulled in, right? Is, hey, sustainability team, we need to get really creative here, because we need to incorporate all these now things that used to be roadblocks. But if we actually design the project in a more sustainable way, these what were considered roadblocks are now
yeah,
assets.
that's right.
We had a developer, this is over the last 2 or 3 years probably, 400 acres, 500 acres, so not huge. Good size, but not huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cut in half by a creek,
Mm-hmm.
and there were so many hurdles to overcome. It was kind of just kind of a foregone conclusion. You know what? We're only going to get half this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you kind of start doodling a few things. We brought all our internal teams together, and there were 5 of them because you're dealing with the feds, you're dealing with the state DOT, you're dealing with the Corps of Engineers,
Mm-hmm.
state regulators, and then local. And so we throwing things together, and with a creative developer, I will say they're very creative too. There are a lot of moving pieces. We were able to kind of design a bridge in a way that opened up half the property.
Wow.
And now things are under construction. In fact, they had a global company took the first building, and there's
Wow.
momentum, and there's jobs being created, and it's a great thing for the community too. So it ended up, you just have to kind of be able to get super creative on what's there. Because there is the unicorns are exactly that.
Yeah.
You can spend time chasing them,
Yeah.
or you can
Or
try
you can
to
make
draw a
them,
unicorn.
or you can draw
You
them.
can make them.
Right, you can
Yeah.
create them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
And where was that located again?
In Raymore, it's in Missouri.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would love to get a link to that one.
Let me also make a note. I'll send it to you.
So let's talk a little bit about mistakes. Don't name names, don't name projects.
Yeah.
But what are some mistakes that you've seen out there, whether it be on a project or on a pursuit, and how have you learned from that?
Well, I'll be the first to kind of raise my hand and say, gosh, I wish I could, I can't even count the number of mistakes I've made too. But as I think about mistakes, I think there's a couple buckets that they generally fall into. One is dangerous assumptions and taking conversation as kind of more factual versus
Yeah.
that's based in assumption. That's a dangerous path to go down, and it always seems to bite folks in the end. And because surprises scare people, and no one likes those. You promise something, you kind of have your mind set on something, and something changes significantly later. That's just not a good situation for anyone, especially site selectors and folks that are looking to relocate there. They're making an investment. That is a big deal. So the assumption is dangerous. And number 2 is accept the little mistakes, little changes, little mistakes are going to happen. It's to move at light speed. Nothing will be perfect. And so to accept the little ones, that's okay. You got to, the team has to be flexible on that. And I kind of, look at our engineering teams that work on the projects, and we've gotten better at kind of understanding that. Another trap, and you kind of hinted at this, is the promising and then thinking we're going to over deliver,
Yeah.
because doubling the schedule just to kind of CYA, for better lack of terms,
Yeah.
is not good for anyone either. There has to be a value add when you're looking at the site selection of real timelines, with maybe a little contingency built in, but not a ton. That it's got to be there's got to be a realistic component to it, and I think that's where some people kind of we've all seen the fear of the federal timelines, and that can be
Right.
overly exaggerated.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's the trap there.
Yeah, that's a deal killer right there. The overly exaggerated federal permitting deadlines. Right.
And the other thing too, there's so many people working on these pursuits, and there's so many valuable data points and a lot of input from a lot of different folks in the community, from the state, from an engineering team, from the end user. Oh my gosh, it's a lot of stuff. There has to be kind of a checks and balances amongst that group and how they're communicating. Trust but verify.
Yep.
And that assumption, you ask the right question to the right person. That's the key, and that's not that's expertise. It really is.
I agree.
Yeah, connecting. Yeah, that I would say, kind of to our own horn for just a second. That's a area where we spend a lot of time thinking about all the different players as a part of the deal and
Yep.
and making it easy for people to connect to the right person at the right time.
That's right.
And so we are a big believer in that. Yes, we all work for these different organizations that are involved in site selection and economic development, but at the end of the day, we're all people.
Yep.
And connecting a very specific person at the deal at the right time to the person with that answer is something that we are specialists in and are investing even more into. So really love to hear you're having the same
Yeah.
experience.
Yep. Well, Brett, we really appreciate you being on the podcast, on the Ribbon Cut. We've enjoyed having you. I've learned a lot. Thank you for being here.
I've just got one final question.
Oh, okay.
Just one final one.
Okay.
Would love to know, just more on a personal note, I borrowed this from Simon Sinek of wanting to know why people work in this industry. What's your why? So almost everyone that we come across
Yep.
has just this deep bench of skills and experiences and could really apply that to any industry sector. And you're choosing to work in engineering and site selection. So why do you do that?
That's it. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast. It's fun. I'm sure we could talk all day. My better half, Kelly, asks me that often. Why do you do this? Because I'll answer a message at night, or it's a pretty demanding industry. It really is, and it moves quickly. But that's kind of the why. Is it fits personality? It's fun. It's never the same. You could think piece of ground next to another is about the same. They aren't. And so it's the variety, the challenge. The people in the industry are very sharp. They're always thinking, what's next? What's better? How do you fix that? So there's that constant striving for something better. Get it, this can be done this way. And it impacts so many people. I haven't met one person that doesn't actually care or take interest in, well, what are they building down the street? What's going on over there?
Yeah.
It piques everyone's interest. And so I've been lucky to have been part of it at Olsson, and Olsson's takes value in being able to provide a lot of different perspectives and data points on when you look at a site or develop a property from start to finish. So it's exciting and there's energy.
Well, really appreciate having you. I'm so glad that you had the time to allocate to this morning. And,
anytime.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see you in Oklahoma City this next week, or somebody from Olsson, but we will be there.
Yes.
I think the 4 kids got me roped into some soccer.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
But I know our guys will be there, so I'll get the introduction made, and we'll see other things here coming up. Let me know if I can ever help, answer any questions, or if your folks listen have anything that we can help with too.
Absolutely. We'll definitely be connecting your contact information so that anybody in the audience that wants to connect to Brett,
Yep.
His door is open, and he would love to chat with you.